I stayed in that dark arcade. It was my escape, man. I could go there for like 45, 50 minutes, an hour before I had to be home for dinner or something like that. And nobody telling me what to do, and just me in the games. It was like getting lost into something. And I've always said that, man, if I could ever start my own little personal arcade with all my favorite games, I would do that. That's it.
Put your quarter up, I got first. And I'm the type of customer that orders the worst. Now not the same as any, I run the game of plenty. I buy my nickels from a dime that goes by the name of Penny. The last starfighter, searching for a starfucker. The drunk parallel parker, thank God for car bumpers. Another day, shot in the head and buried by your wife who tries to convince me that she shouldn't have got married. From the Gallagher bugs, to the amateur thugs, to the punk rock chicks that can't handle my hugs. I'll be standing upon a web, born out of a thought where the spider makes her bed out of the carcasses she caught. Hey yo, she's got that good hair, me I got dandruff. She wears a smile and me I wear handcuffs. Yo, wait a minute, savior, how about a little truth? You couldn't save yourself if you had a cape and a phone booth. The roof is on fire, the floor is underwater. The fish ignored the bait and ate the bobber. And as God hovers up above the highway in a chopper, I'm down here writing songs for her daughter.
I'll give you a little tour and you can decide what you like. Here is our arcade side to our game room. We're about 750 square feet right here in the beginning, and all of our games are 1990 and previous, so we make a real effort to make sure we have vintage arcade games. These games here are 79 on the average to 85. In this room, our pinball room, it's probably a little more impressive, because these are truly antiques. Keep our to the left. Some electromechanicals, which you can spy by the reels in the back. That tells you that this has no microprocessor, no computer, no nothing. If we skip over here to 1977 and strikes and squares, you see we have digital displays and things like that. My favorite analogy, especially to kids, when they see these pinballs and I say they're antiques, this technology got us to the moon. This is how we got those Apollos to land on the moon. This is the technology that came after that, took us to Vietnam, the microprocessor and guided missiles. I mean, really, that's where this technology took it. If you look at a pinball machine like this, the inside is filled with switches. It's an analog machine, it's binary. You look inside that one, it's got a little tiny computer in it that runs it, even from 77. That's how far pinball has come, and it's still around. It's still considered vintage. It's still considered iconic. It's something that a 50-year-old man can see, and it may be a newer machine, but he understands the gameplay no matter what. Over here are some of our newer games, like 90s. Radical, which is a skating theme from the 80s. Whirlwind, which is a very popular kind of game that the pinball layman can come and understand. World Cup Soccer, which has a fabulous theme in it, and it's just incredible gameplay. But even more is back here. This will be our expansion of Mars God of War back here. It's one of the only pinball machines that has an infinity backglass, which essentially uses mirrors to create the tunnel effect that you see. This is a 1976 Gottlieb Dragon. This was their first solid state machine, meaning when you look inside, there's just a computer board in there, and that's it. And incredible that these companies who had been doing electromechanical gaming since the 1800s, doing bowling, doing, like skee balls, and they switched their whole operation to start doing pinball, and pinball was absolutely the rage for 30 years it ran. Some of the newer games, Elvira and the Party Monsters, obviously a newer game here, Star Trek The Next Generation. This is probably our highest skill game. You gotta know what you're doing to play this one. I don't. This is one of my favorites just for its theme. It's sort of Williams always had either the best sounds or the best art on their pinball machines, and this one really hit both. The art on this one is like very sexploitation style, 70s, female sexploitation, using the female form as a pinball machine. Her voices, the things she says to you, it's actually very racy, and love playing that one. Actually, one of the more popular games we have is Joust here. It's a two-player simple to operate game. It was so popular because you only went right and left and you flapped your wings. So even Grandpa could play it with you. And then all the way around, well, I'll take you to our little workshop. I gotta set some of this crap down. Dragon won't start a game, Dylan. Here's our workshop. These will be games that are close to repair, just need a little touch up before they can enter the arcade, or just literally to be cleaned. You'll see Time Machine here. He's real dusty. He can't be played until he's all clean, because that's just like throwing sand on a play field and then taking a metal ball and grinding the paint away. Dust is the enemy, just like war games. And then over here is Foursquare. That's called a wedge head. That's like older than dirt. Old Tom-Tom's older than dirt over here. These are all electromechanicals. These things have been uncared for, left in barns. I mean, when we get them, sometimes they always have rat's nests in them. They normally have water damage or cabinet damage, and almost always have electrical problems. So we have to be cabinet makers, electricians, and even on my end, what I do is what I call finish work. Small epoxying of parts, fixing things, trying to figure out how we remanufacture a thing. A lot of other things that we want to do are like the early electromechanical shooting games. I'm not a big fan of shooting games as a morality, but I do like the shooting games from the 60s and the 70s. You knock targets down, you hit bears and moose and stuff like that, and it's all pretend, and everybody knows it's pretend because it's not graphics and blood, it's not gory. It's ping, dong, you know, it's like very simple sort of like actions. I'm not a huge fan of guns, but I play that. Back here is some of my, don't know if they're going to work in the next year, row. I got one last to show you. It's my bowling lane. I'm very excited about it. I have a miniature scale bowling lane. And there she is. 16 feet of bowling pleasure. It's a 1961 Chicago coin. I think her name is a Continental. And this game would have allowed you to play up to 6 players. And it's a non-traditional bowling setup in the sense that you're not trying to score like a traditional scoring of bowling. You only have 3 options: strike, a spare, or you didn't get anything, so move on. And then there's some twists where if you have the gold pin lit up when you get your strike, it's going to do an extra score and stuff, which is not what bowling is about. But this one will be more of a, how do you put it, like in the bowling community, they do what's called Keno night or something like that, where a pin is a color, and if you get that, you win $20. And that's what this one was trying to do. And in fact, they were so specific about these games back in the 60s, you couldn't gamble on them because everybody wanted to. They felt, when they went into an arcade, they were like, what, I don't win money? They didn't, because it seemed like Vegas. And honestly, a lot of the bar owners would allow people to win money, and that's what shut the pinball arcade community down for a while in America in the 70s, the 60s. 60s it got shut down because everybody was gambling on it. And they figured, well, in those days the community thought that arcading was a waste of time and a waste of money. And they actually had anti-arcade campaigns that like mothers would get together and have these groups that shut arcades down because they were burning up our kids' heads. And so it actually became very frowned upon. The arcade was something where the toughs went, and the kids who smoked and played pinball and had t-shirts on and greasy hair. And then in the 70s, when the videos came in, the video game, it caught the attention of the children, and arcades went to a younger age group. And then in the late 80s, when we got our Ataris and our home systems, they died. Just like the dinosaur, just wiped out. We're going to bring one back, but make sure we're cliche enough to have something that people want to learn how to play because they heard about it, or they want to play again because they used to play it, or they want to just come and see other people play, or bowl, or maybe shoot an electromagnetic, or just treat it like a museum and look at pretty art. Each one of these has something to share visually. I started with my favorite games. I found it. Pole position, yay, I got it. What's next? You start getting hungry. You know, I'm not a hoarder because I want to share with the community. I want to find them. I want to get them out of your dad's garage or your grandpa's woodshed. I want to get them working, and I want to share it with the community. I can play them all day long now. I'm happy, but the happiness doesn't come until you see the other people enjoy it too. So I'm against collectors to a degree. Not in a bad way. Collectors have saved these games for me, but now I want to share them. So collectors have been coming and donating games to me and helping me share this with the community. I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure that the arcade lives here, you know. You know, the last one that I got to go to, I was in my 20s. And now here's one again, I'm in my 40s. It's a 20-year gap. of losing some part of Americana. And pinball started in America. It was America's game. It was made in Chicago. If you went to France and went to a cafe, there was 3 American pinball machines over there with American themes, and it was very, very fashionable to play American-themed pinballs. You shipped them all over the world, Germany, Switzerland, Brazil. You can find American-made Chicago, Williams, Stern, Bally, you know, all those old-school manufacturers that were basically mafia-run. They controlled the gaming industry for 60 years. 60 years they made pinball. No one else is. And now there's only one manufacturer. There's 2 pinball manufacturers left out of the 30 that used to be around.
Pass a motherfucking swisher, pour some motherfucking liquor for my motherfucking niggas who ain't with us, keep it Trilla. With my gold teeth, my French braids, getting those since 10th grade. Wealth is in the mind, not the pocket, that's the case and I've been paid. Herringbone chain, my gold frames, my Cartiers, you small change, you bitch made. I'm old school like gym stars and switchblades. I spit game, I get paid, I pimp game, my pimp, I be that pretty motherfucker. Aesop is just my nickname.
I'm coming down when I'm tipping on them foes. Cause me shitting on these niggas and these hoes.
Cause that perp shit I zip up, your bitch shows you slip up. I get my dick licked, I'm draked out, drip up. I'm at the top of the line, all of my grind. Traveler is in my mind and running, we're gonna hit one at a time. Them bad bitches blow kisses by my earlobe. A weirdo, but I'm rare though. All these boppers wanna bop 'em, niggas wanna jock 'em, not a real life or a city cop that could stop 'em. Going broke is not an option, always on that cash flow.